There we go. Are we here? I think we are. Hello, friends. Well, hello, Jeremy B. Neff. Thanks for speaking up. Thank you for joining me today. Let's get official. This is Daily Art Adventure number 8. Can you see that? Working on it there. 829. And if I may point out, my newly repaired clapper, it broke last week, and so I spent a little time this afternoon fixing it with steel and a Band-Aid. So now it's a clapper with character. Daily Art Adventure 829. That's right, folks. We have done 829 broadcasts. Actually, more than that, because several of those consist of several separate broadcasts. Be that as it may. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. And I'm going to give you a better view here. Let me move you to a different perch. There we go. So you can look straight down at my table. So I have two jobs. Let me describe them to you very quickly. And again, I'm sorry if you're getting a little bit of static. I tried to troubleshoot that for a while, could not find the source of it. I hope it's not too bad. All right, I have two jobs. One is I'm designing a new logo. Here's some exciting news, exciting to me anyway. For 10 years, my website, my wedding painting website, has been weddingpaintermagic.com. Several months ago, weddingpainter.com became available, and after much wrangling and thinking and wondering and praying and consulting with all kinds of experts, I have purchased weddingpainter.com. I paid quite a bit of money for it. I bought cars that cost me a lot less than this domain did. Not good cars, you understand. But cars nonetheless. Anyway, so I am in the process of switching everything away from Wedding Painter Magic to weddingpainter.com, and I'm assuming you can see why Wedding Painter is a better concept than Wedding Painter Magic. So here's my old logo. Again, weddingpaintermagic.com, because weddingpainter.com wasn't available. Now I own it. I'm paying somebody else a lot of money to help me build a new website, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. So one of the jobs that I have to do is design a logo. This is my old logo. I liked it just fine. But yesterday I started thinking about a new one. I found a font that I liked. I downloaded it and I played with it a little bit. My idea here, and I'm not going to start with this. I'm going to start with blank paper, but I just want to show you what I'm up to at the moment. Let me see if I can grab a... Yeah, here we go. I almost dipped my brush in my drinking water. It wouldn't be the first time. So I'm thinking about doing some kind of very free, loose, painterly mark, kind of like that. So again, I'm assuming I'm not going to use this. I would never do it right up, but that's kind of cool, isn't it? Funny how that, when you're not trying, it looks really good. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm not sure that's the way I'm going to go. Anyway, that is one of the rough sketches I have to do. The other rough sketch, and here are some photographs. The other rough sketch is an illustration about this man on this porch who experiences this event. I'm going to tell you what this event is in a minute. I'm not going to read it to you, but I printed it out from the email from my client. This is another illustration for the same client, for the same job as this. It's a story of a man who grew up before the Civil War. He fought and was gravely injured, nearly died in the Civil War. This is his dear friend, a slave named York. And the illustration I'm supposed to do today actually pertains specifically to their relationship as adults. So this is the style of illustration I'm going to do. This was one of my previous rough sketches. Here's nope, somewhere around here is the finished. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here's the finished illustration from that rough sketch. I don't like to do this, but I actually cleaned up this illustration or modified it a fair amount in Photoshop. So my client didn't get an illustration that looks quite like this. One of the things that I did, believe it or not, was I desaturated it. I made it more earth tone and brownish because I liked the feeling of this illustration better than the feeling of this. Do you see? Here's some others real quickly. The same job. Here's a picture of it's called a mini ball in America, but it's actually the French word minier ball. So it doesn't, like mini in American, this has always been confusing to me. Why do they call it a mini ball? Does that mean it's small? The answer is no, quite the contrary. But this is still a muzzle loading bullet, but instead of a round sphere, about the time of the Civil War, somebody invented this minier ball. And in fact, Major Coker, he became eventually, I don't think this is his hip bone, but this is in fact an illustration of a human hip bone that's had a mini ball go through it. And that's what happened to Major Coker. And here's Major Coker later in life as a farmer with a cane. As you can imagine, he walked with a limp or a cane the rest of his life. And again, here's some other rough sketches. Be that as it may, that's way more information than you guys needed, but there you go. So I've got two rough sketches at the same time. I'm trying to decide right now which one to do first. Okay, let's do the Civil War story. And let me review real quickly. Oh, good. Sound is good, Jeremy, glad to have. Hello, Uncle 60. Good to see you on board as well. I have to read this because myself. James and York. James is the white boy, York is the slave. They were good friends, and they kind of like the fox and the hound. They swore to each other that they would be best of friends and take care of each other the rest of their lives. Captain Coker, he eventually became Major James Coker, was injured in the Battle of Chickamauga, and nearly died. I've read, a lot. I've read his story, and it's amazing that he survived. Absolutely, almost a miracle that he survived. His wife came and nursed him. He was in a Union prison war camp. In 1915, then. So this is 35. Well, this is 50 years after the end of the Civil War. Major Coker and her son were sitting on their front porch, and they looked up and saw an old black man coming through the gate. And the story is that Major Coker said, "I believe that's York." And sure enough, it was York. Now, York had abandoned his master at the Battle of Chickamauga. Again, not surprisingly, because York went to fight for the Union. Oh boy, I'm tempted to get into political stuff here. Okay, I won't. But believe me, I could. And oh boy. You just have to, and all you Southerners who think it was a war about states' rights need to read the book, The Lost Cause. That's where that theory comes from. Anyway, and it's anyway, it's a very evil thesis. All right, so sorry, I got into it anyway. And those of you who don't agree with me, that's all right. You have the right to be ignorant, and you have the right to be racist. Oh man, I just went from bad to worse. I've never been so insulting in any of my 829 broadcasts. Anyway, so York comes up, and indeed, so James, who was by this time a fairly successful industrialist does indeed take care of York for the rest of his life. So I do have it on my phone, by the way, this book called The Lost Cause, one of the most famous books in the Confederacy, written after the loss of the Civil War. And if you wonder where most of this states' rights thesis came from, that's where it came from, is that book. And I'm reading it because it's good to read evil books. I'm reading Karl Marx's Das Kapital at the same time, and because I want to be able to discuss intelligently where stuff comes from. See, I couldn't help myself, could I? I just couldn't help myself. Okay, but let's get away from it. But if you want to read it, the book, you can. It's a free download, free PDF. It's called The Lost Cause, written in 1866 by a newspaper editor from Richmond. Richmond, Virginia. All right. Whew, got that off my chest. And so the illustration is, and I'm going to send, once I figure out which one to do, it's either going to be a view of Major Coker, and I'm kind of picturing him maybe starting to get out of his chair. We're looking over his shoulder, and he's starting, now of course he's an old man by this time, and he's walked with a cane most of his life, even when he was young. So he's an old man, and he's getting up. And how about if he's got his hand shading his eyes? How about that? And he's on a porch. On a veranda, which means a southern porch. With his son, but we don't need to, I don't think we need to include that, his son, in the story. And here, coming through the gate, is an old man, also walking with a cane. And Major Coker says to his son, "Why, William," that's his son, "I do believe that's old York coming through the gate." All right? One thing I will, pardon me, I'm sorry, I had to move you a little bit. Oh no, I didn't move you, that's the other tripod I moved. Forget that, ignore that apology. I have another soft pencil up here. Oh, by the way, the tool that I was using there, it's made by Creative Mark, distributed also by Jerry's Artorama, and it's a lead holder. Now this piece of lead is actually broken. Let me see if there's any more. Oh, that's the end of it. Anyway, it was given to me. This is the tool I probably would never have bought for myself, but somebody gave it to me, and lo and behold, I find I really like it. It's big, fat, soft, rubbery, and great big lead. So isn't that funny? There you go. There's always surprises in the art business. The surprise is that I really like this tool. Forgive me. I'm looking for there we go. So the values, the shading in this illustration, I'm thinking would be something like this. So they're on the porch. They're on a southern porch on a Sunday afternoon. I think I'm making that part up. I don't know if it's really a Sunday afternoon. Hey, let me look. No, I'm curious. No, it doesn't say, but I'm picturing. All right, so let me talk for a few minutes about what it's like to be an artist, what it's like to be an illustrator, and I think all representational artists, all realistic artists, quote unquote. So this doesn't really apply to abstract people, but all representational artists, our craft overlaps into storytelling, does it not? Do you see what I mean? Now, the only point I want to make is that when you're an illustrator, now how about if there was a slight path, like a worn path? Sure. When you're an illustrator, or in this case, I'm very much engaged in storytelling. That's a real obvious point. I'm not trying to belabor it, but so I think it does help if you're an artist of any kind, of any kind of representational art. It does help if you have a narrative brain, if you have a mind that enjoys storytelling and kind of has some intuition about the art of storytelling, right? Okay, so that's what I'm doing here, because my client did not tell me, for instance, here's what I know, what I just read you. Old man on the porch sees an old man coming through the gate. That's all I know. Now, the rest of the story is York came up and they hugged and they had a conversation. And indeed, Mr. Coker did support James, who I believe was in pretty desperate straits, which as a white man, makes me, I don't know, what's the word? Say I have, I don't have mixed feelings at all. I have mixed feelings about this story. I do indeed. Why, for instance, why was it that poor old York had fallen on such hard times? Well, need I say more? It's because he was black and he lived in the South during Jim Crow. So, that's why he'd fallen on hard times. I mean, who knows what else? Or I don't. But anyway, let's get away from the political, philosophical statements, and let's just try to get back to illustrating a story. Forgive me to reach back here, get a ruler. So I'm actually spending a lot more time on my first rough sketch. I'm spending a lot more time on it than I had expected to. It's taken on a life of its own, you might say. In other words, it seems to be working. Okay, one more comment. My client, in his email to me, said, as he thought about the story, as he thought about what we're trying to picture, he thought that it might take 2 illustrations. Now, of course, being a professional illustrator, I'd rather do 2 illustrations than 1, because then I get paid twice as much. Right? But I told him, I said, nah, let me see what I can do, just condensing the story down to 1 illustration, and we'll go from there. If we find we really need the 2 illustrations, then we can do it. All right, here's another one of those little tools that you would never think you need one until you get one, and then you wonder, how did I get by all my life without an electric eraser? That is true. I did a broadcast. It's due to do another one. I did a broadcast a couple years ago on I forget what I called it, but the idea was different gizmos, things that you might want to buy at the art supply store. Things that there's so many art supplies, and if you're like me, you don't want to waste your money, so you don't just try everything, because you walk by things, you go, nah, I don't need one of those. At least that's the way I am, right? And I walked by, I turned up my nose at electric erasers for decades, until I finally bought one. I can't remember why I bought one. Until I finally bought one and said, dang, how did I get along all these years without an electric eraser? This is a great tool. So So as you can see, I'm playing around. I'm trying to tell a story. And one of the best ways to tell a story is with composition and play of light. Let me finish this. So this is supposed to be like a picket fence. I'm going to come back now with pencils and let's redraw that again. So I have an old man. Here's what he looks like. So he's pretty tall and very straight standing, considering at one point in his life, I digress, his hip bone looked like this. So, whew, yikes, made by this. So he's a pretty erect old man. Now this picture was taken in 1905. As I understand it, this story takes place another 10 years after this picture. So, and I'm going to make him even older man, standing up, and he's got his cane in his left hand here. But I mean, now I could flop the illustration, then it would be in his left hand again. In fact, my client and I had quite a conversation last year when I did the first batch of illustrations for him, about which hand or which arm a crippled person, so to speak, uses if they're injured in the left or right hip. Which hand does their crutch go in? And as a matter of fact, that is not, as you might think, that is not an easy answer. So, again, those are indeed the kinds of questions an illustrator at least has to ask in the course of his duties of doing an illustration. And the answer is, even though there might be a favored left or right hand, most people that use a crutch, and I know this from firsthand experience. I had a significant injury when I was 23 years old. I was a serious runner, and I spent a couple weeks on crutches and then a couple weeks on one crutch and so forth. And the answer is you go back and forth. So there you go. The answer is one side gets sore and you switch to the other side. Anyway, so let me talk about some of the tricks I'm using in this illustration. First of all, we're standing behind the main character in the story. We're seeing, so to speak, what he sees, almost, including the character himself, right? But as he looks out. So that's trick number one. He is silhouetted, so we see him, but our attention goes beyond him. And a real significant element here, and you were here when I did it. Uncle keeps retracting his. That's probably Uncle being funny. I don't know. Whether you're being funny or not, that is funny. Maybe he was upset at my digressing into states' rights. Now, of course, at this distance, I can't do a lot of detail in this character back here. It's mostly just a profile. Needs to look like an old man. That's not too hard. The stooped stance is the giveaway of old age. By the way, let's look. How much? Oh, I don't have much detail about the porch. In fact, I can see railing there, but I can't see. But judging by the the rest of the house. I'm trying to decide would the porch have any gingerbread? You know, it doesn't really look very Victorian. No, it does. It's got some fancy stuff up here. So, yeah. Moderately so. Yeah. Yeah, so let's do this. Just again, to indicate to my client that I'm imagining some Victorian style gingerbready kind of stuff on the house. And plus that indicates a fair degree of opulence, and this house, I would say, reflects a successful business career, wouldn't you? All right. So I honestly did not expect to take this particular sketch all the way to this degree of finish. Usually I'll do several sketches. Let me move you a little bit. I'll do several sketches before I take any one of them to this degree of finish. But again, so there are several things that draw our eye to the old man. The most important is maybe this path, the Z-shaped path. The other is the trees come to a dip right over his head. And thirdly, we and the major coke are in shade, and the character coming through the gate is in sunlight. So I might even do something like this, like try to have some of him actually in sunlight. Yeah, coveralls, there we go. The man coming through the gate, as you can imagine, is not coming through pompously or proudly, right? That's not the story here. Okay, and then the gate, here we go. The picket fence. Let's flesh that out a little bit. There. What do you think? That does not look like his hand over his eyes. Let's see if I can. It's too big. As you can see, I'm using a blending stub or a tortillon. I don't know how you pronounce that word. That's one of those irritating things. I don't know how you pronounce it. It looks like if it's got any Latin in it, it's tortillon. I-L-I-O. Anyway, never mind. I'm not going to spell it for it. Tortillon. A lot of times you know how to pronounce a word if you know what language it's coming from. Okay, is this one coming from Latin or German? So on. So he's been sitting in a chair, I'm thinking. Are you getting that? Are you getting the story? And he's rising. He's not all the way up. He's getting up. So we want to get him in action. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set that aside. I'll do more. I'll do another one. I'll do one maybe looking over York's shoulder toward the house, maybe. All right? But this is one of the things I enjoy about my career, is that I get to do a wide variety of things. Most of the time these days, of course. Tomorrow, by the way, I'm painting a wedding. I certainly hope to bring you with me. This is a special wedding in that I'm doing 3 paintings. Now, not all at the same time, but I will be working on 2 oil paintings tomorrow. And then when I get home, I'll be working on yet even a 3rd. So I'm excited about that. So now, logo design. weddingpainter.com. So I'm just going to start. And I actually talked to a expert consultant today because I needed to find out if you use calligraphy, say an image, in other words a picture, right? If I used calligraphy, it would be that Google would see it as a picture. Do I lose SEO, search engine optimization? Do I lose SEO? And where would it be better if I used a font like I did here, a typeface? And I learned that no, not really. You can label this so that Google Google the crawler, the things that crawl through all our web spaces, all our websites. That's a comforting thought, isn't it? Things are crawling through our websites. The crawler will be told that it says wedding painting or wedding painter. I'm sorry, I just did that wrong. It's not supposed to be wedding painting. It's supposed to be wedding painter. Good grief. All right, now I'm going to give the same advice I've given a couple times before. First of all, rough sketches, sketching is, I'm going to try to is the hardest work, in my opinion. This is the guy scrunching up his face and smoke is coming out of his head. Okay? I'm just being silly to convey the point. Sketching is hard work. This is the hardest work of the art business, is not. And this includes thumbnails, tonal sketches, notans, creative sketches. Now I'm just having, I have to, you know me, I have to shade this character. There. That's me thinking hard. And my instruction when it's time to be creative, that's what I'm doing right now. This is creative time. My main instruction is keep your hand moving. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. That's how you come up with good ideas. Because if you keep your hand moving almost faster than your brain can think, then you're operating out of your right side, your creative side of your brain. Now, without trying, your left analytical side of your brain is going to be sputtering along and grinding gears and so on, is going to be working. In my opinion, it's not hard to engage your analytical left brain. What is hard is engaging your creative side. Another way to say that is don't analyze, don't overanalyze, don't think too much. This is really important. Don't veto too quickly. Okay, that's when I'm. Boy, I'm assuming most of you who are watching me, you're artists. Hello, Blacklist Universe. Yes, the devil is in the details. Oh, table of iced tea. What a great idea. Where did that sketch go? I've lost it now. Here it is, way over here. What a great idea. Or lemonade, or whatever the case may be, or mint julep or something, right? That's so crazy. I'm actually going to add it, even though I don't think I would probably do it, but I do like the idea a lot. Now here's the thing, 1915, did they have ice cubes back then? Probably not. Well, the really rich people did, because they had a nice house, didn't they? Of course. Not a nice, they had an ice house. Okay, my parents were old enough to tell me about the days when a wagon would come by, in town anyway, in the city, a wagon would come by once a week with ice. And it was ice, of course, that had been harvested, quote unquote. That is interesting. I'm not at all sure this is a good idea, Uncle. But I like the idea so much that I'm going to put that there. Just won't forget it. Yeah, so a wagon would come by with ice that had been stored in an ice house, which means big house with sawdust in it and big blocks of ice, and you could buy an ice from a horse-drawn carriage, horse-drawn wagon. I think it was once a week. And yeah, my parents, I wasn't old enough, but my parents were old enough to remember those days and tell us about it. How about that? You guys, or lemonade, yeah. Hello, Thinker888. You have been away for a long time. Mint julep. You guys we're all hitting on the same thing, aren't we? The answer is for a book. My friend Will is writing a book, and I think this is his great-grandfather. In other words, this man that I showed you a while ago is his great-grandfather, and he went on to become a pretty powerful or wealthy industrialist in South Carolina. And by the way, I am reading Karl Marx's Das Kapital. I like saying it. I took German in high school, so I like saying it the German way, not capital, the way an American would say it. I want to read what, in my opinion, is the book that has caused more evil on the planet than any other book in history. There you go. And I am critiquing the book, as you can imagine. At the same time, I'm listening to a professor, I think at Georgetown University, who's been teaching Das Kapital for 30 years, and he waxes absolutely orgasmic over every aspect of Das Kapital. And he has mentored thousands, maybe 10,000s of young college students to love Marxism as much as he does. And I am, those of you who think I'm an artist who philosophizes, you're completely wrong. I'm a philosopher who paints, but that's all right. Anyway, what was I was saying something about? Oh yeah, so this man was Mr. Coker was a successful. Well, let me get back to the wedding painter logo. He was a wealthy industrialist, and for many in our world, that means he was a villain. And don't even get me started. He was not a villain. He provided good livings for thousands of people, and does to this very day, by the way. Anyway, that's another story. I'm also reading a book written by a Jewish rabbi right now. I didn't do this on purpose, but the name of the book is Thou Shalt Prosper. It hurts me to say it every time because it's supposed to be Thou Shalt Prosper. Evidently this rabbi, who I love, Daniel Lapin, is not an expert at Elizabethan English. Everybody my age who grew up in a traditional church is well versed in Elizabethan English, because the King James Bible, which is all we had when we were kids, anyway, it's supposed to be Thou Shalt Prosper. But anyway, he didn't know that, so it's called Thou Shalt Prosper. And he didn't write it this way, but it's an absolute perfect antidote to Marxism, answer to Marxist thinking. Anyway, boy, I'm sorry I'm getting so political today. And I only got into it because I mentioned that Major Coker was a successful businessman, which according to many means he was a villain, which I vehemently deny. Anyway, I don't seem to be able to get away from philosophy and politics today, do I? Oh boy, I'll try. I'm going to try to get away from it, I promise. And especially at the moment, what I'm doing has virtually nothing to do with politics. I'm trying to design a logo. Blacklist Universe, you go, man. You know what? I would love to write a book if I had time, and if I feel like I'm really supposed to do it, I will. It would be something, I don't know what it would be called, but it would be one city, 3 men, and poor people. One city, poor people, and 3 men. That's a terrible title, but that's what I'm getting at is 3 men lived in London, England at the same time. And that time is mid to late industrial revolution. Okay? And those 3 men were Karl Marx. They lived at the same time. Karl Marx, Charles Dickens, and William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army. All 3 of them saw the same problem. The 3 of them came to wildly disparate, well, 2 of the 3, one of the 3 came to a wildly, and I'll stay with my original, all 3 of them came to wildly disparate solutions to the problem that they saw in Industrial Revolution London. They all 3 lived in London, in the 1850s, 60s, something like that. I don't know the exact date. I know Charles Dickens, I happen to know this because of my Dickens Street Christmas decoration. He wrote A Christmas Carol in 1843. So, and I forget when Marx wrote Das Kapital, but it was sometime after that, 1866, I think. Anyway, the 3 men, and then William Booth and his wife, the founders of the Salvation Army. All 3 people desperately concerned about the plight of the poor in London in the Industrial Revolution. Each of them thought they did something good for the poor. Wedding painter. I think 100 and some years later, I think it's fair to measure these 3 people. Wedding painter. And I think it's fair to ask ourselves the question, which one was right? Which ones were right? Which ones were wrong? Which ones actually did the most good for the poor people? And as Blacklist Universe has already mentioned, which one is responsible for so many deaths in the human race that if you piled all the bodies in one place, you would be able to see the pile from the moon? That is literally true. That, my friends, is Karl Marx. And my professor friend, who is, as I said, orgasmic in his praise of Karl Marx. How do I answer that? What answer do I have for him? Oh boy, I've gotten into this. I've gotten this far in. I'll give you my Karl Marx in 30 seconds, so to speak. It's not even an elevator speech. Karl Marx gives people, human beings, permission. Not only permission, but he promotes, he encourages, he urges people to have two primary emotions. These emotions are envy and hatred. That's Karl Marx in 2 words. Envy the rich and hate the rich. That's the Bolshevik Revolution. That's socialism. That's communism. It's real simple. Now, why is he so popular? Oh, because inside every human heart, including my own, do you understand? I am tempted, gravely tempted. There is a dark little sinister, nasty side of me, inside me, that desperately wants to engage in the luxuries of envy and hatred. Because it feels good. It feels good. Kind of like pornography feels good. Do you catch my drift? Pornographers will never lack for an audience, no matter how bad the economy gets. I'm having a hard time keeping my mind on a wedding painter here. No matter how bad the economy gets, pornographers, the purveyors of pornography, will never lack for an audience. Why? Because inside the soul mind of every man, woman to some extent, but I truly don't understand that one. But anyway, lurks the dark and sinister little thirst and desire for crummy eroticism. Okay? Including mine, right? Any man who doesn't think he's tempted by pornography is lying through his teeth, or is an idiot, or he's a eunuch. Those are the 3 options. Whoops, wedding. See, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. Okay? Likewise, inside the heart of every human being, in a very similar way, I make drawing a similarity to pornography, lies the perverse inclination toward envy. It's real simple. If if envy weren't part of the natural human broken impulse, do not envy would not be one of the 10 commandments. Now, you don't have to be religious to swallow this. All you have to do is be an anthropologist and acknowledge that things like the 10 commandments they're a codification of social mores. People throughout history have had the hunch that, if we would just stay in our better selves, our better centers, we wouldn't envy, right? Now, you don't have to believe in God to believe that. That's just common human experience. Oh yes, envy doesn't work out well in the long run. Good job, Blacklist. Yeah, greed and envy. Hey, Blacklist. Oh, you're right. That's right. That's right. You're the comic book artist. How fun. How fun. You go, man. That is fun. Yeah, and boy. Everybody assumes I'm a rank liberal because I'm an artist, right? Rank liberal. By the way, I like liberality. I'm in favor of liberal. I am. You might say I disagree with Karl Marx with a bloody passion. Or you might say I'm not a progressive leftist, right? So that's really funny, man. If I'm an artist and everybody assumes I'm liberal, dang! If you're a comic book artist, of course you're liberal. Wedding painter, all right. And I probably just lost 20% of my viewing audience because you guys were watching me because I'm an artist and you just assume I'm a leftist. We used to call him commie pinko. pigs. Right? When I was a kid, it was an insult to be called a communist. Now, now it's like being called professor. I did painting again. I've got wedding painting on my brain. Sorry. Anyway, so all those of you who I just offended, because I'm partly sorry for that. But there you go. The truth is out. I'm not a leftist commie pinko pig. I guess that's going back to the 70s, by the way. Okay, let's try something really different here. So I've been doing, as you can see, just letters, combination of text and script with a horizontal line. Let's try something a little bit different. A little bit different. Boy. Honestly, if I did offend you, I sort of apologize, but who knows? Maybe the cosmos wanted you to tune in today to hear some sanity. We are not going to talk about who we voted for. We are not. Nope. Not going to take that back bait. Not even getting close to that. Nope. It's enough to say I'm not a communist. It tells you who I'm not voting for in the Democratic primary. The card carrying communist. Okay, let's try something really small. I'm doing something small just because you see things different when you change scale. And back to script, calligraphy. Now it's a box though instead of, okay. How about this? I haven't done one like this in ages. By the way, this is a funny, you'll see in a minute what I'm about to do. I'm going to do, this is an old graphic design trick, element, thing, if you will. That is where you do the first, it's all caps, and the first letter is large, and the last letter is large, and smaller letters in between, okay? And I remember being told by a graphic design professor kind of person in 1986, 7, 8, in there somewhere. I'll say 1987. Not to do this because it was going out of style, and it was not cool anymore. This was 33 years ago, and I'm here to tell you there's still, to this day, there are good logos being designed. Paid a lot of money for this particular trick. In fact, this I was told at the same period that this kind of thing was going out of style. Text combined with that. I was told that was going out of style 33 years ago. And not true. I was also told at the same period, because I was a cartoonist at the time, and I had just done a cartoon of a boy with his hat, his baseball cap turned backwards. And I remember being told at the time, no, don't do that anymore. Kids aren't wearing their hats backwards anymore. That's old-fashioned. I didn't really believe them at the time, but 37 years have gone by. Is it fair for me to say, wrong-o, Smedley? Part of it is, in both of these cases, at least in the graphic design case, in the case of the graphic design person, it was a kind of a snooty kind of expert, kind of like a professor type person who was doing the talking. And it was his job to try to be cool with it, groovy, cutting edge, head of the curve. And that particular attitude has certain downsides that go with it. The most obvious is, at the moment, that in your zeal to be cool, groovy, in with it, you make predictions that are not true. Well, I'm not. I don't. It doesn't bother me if. I'm sure some professor somewhere would say, "Oh no, never do a logo where you use a swoosh. Those are going out of style." Here's another one along the same lines. Aren't you glad we got off politics and philosophy for a minute? Okay, Blacksmith, I am not even going to read your chat. I'm not even going to say. Lady Grammy, bless your heart. Yeah. Oh man, Blacklist. I don't know who you are, but you got a lot of things to say. And I'm not referring to his last chat, by the way. I am not. I'm referring to his classical liberalism is modern-day conservative libertarian. That very astute. That is exactly correct. In fact, to tell you the truth, I'm going to stay on politics just for a minute. Not really politics, philosophy. I'm an artist. Newsflash. All right, y'all. I don't know if you noticed this or not. I'm an artist. In fact, I'm a real artist. In fact, I'm a real creative. Not all artists are creative, by the way. That is one of the giant myths of the art industry, is that artists are creative. Many artists are not creative. They're sheep. They follow the crowd. They're trend followers. I am a trendsetter. My resume speaks for itself. There are like 3 things in my resume that I can honestly say either I'm the best or the only in America that does these things. That is true. That's literally true. There's nobody that does what I do. And don't want to get into that because that sounds arrogant. I don't mean it, but my resume says, wow, I'm a real creative. That means I don't have a conservative personality. Isn't that strange? And I bet Blacklist Universe, I bet you don't have a conservative personality, because you can't have a conservative personality and be creative. It's like they're antithetical. Creativity is refusing to do what somebody else has already done, even if that somebody else is you. Okay, so part of creativity is having a free spirit to do what is something new. That's creativity. Okay, let me keep doing. Wedding painter. What haven't I done yet? How about all lowercase? So in fact, if you put me in a room full of conservative people, I tend to twitch. I'm not very comfortable in that. I mean, it's okay. I can be nice. Trust me. Not like I hear on this broadcast. I can keep my mouth shut and smile and nod and so on. And I can be nice. But I'm not terribly comfortable in a room full of conservative personalities. And the fact is, so this is interesting, some of you might, the fact is there are a lot of people who are conservative politically because it fits their personality. And I am not comfortable in a room full of that kind of person. Because I don't know, I have a freer spirit, I have a more open soul. I don't know, I'm trying not to sound completely weird. Too late. So that puts me in a very strange place, because philosophically, I tend to subscribe to more conservative issues, so to speak, but I don't do it because of a conservative personality. Quite the contrary. Isn't that weird? Anyway, that's all I'm gonna. My point is, we're all weird. I'm at the front of that pack. Anyway. I was going to give you one more bit of advice that I got back in the 80s. Oh no, this wasn't in the 80s. This was just about 5 years ago. Wedding painter. Most of you probably don't know this. It was an idea whose time had come and gone, and we didn't know it. 5 years ago, I teamed up with my favorite local video production studio, Burning Oak Studios, and we produced 5 DVDs of me teaching calligraphy, of all things. Did you know that? And I'm not even a professional calligrapher, and I made that quite clear. Tried to make that quite clear in my in the presentation. I said, I come to you not as a master calligrapher, I come to you as a fellow traveler, but as a good teacher. That was my shtick. Anyway, it went absolutely nowhere. But in the course of doing that, series of I did 5 fonts: unseal, half unseal, black letter, classic. What do we call it? Classic? I've drawn a blank. All of a sudden, it'll come back to me. And I decided to also teach. I'm drawing another blank. It'll come to Vivaldi. Just do a search in Google. Type Vivaldi typeface. Invented by a man who, last I checked, was still alive, but he was pretty old. Peter, I forget, a German living in British Columbia, Canada. And Vivaldi was invented in 1977, I think. Maybe 87, I can't remember. Anyway, it is outrageously popular font. Outrageous. You can see, out driving through the country, you can say "worms for sale" printed in Vivaldi typeface. And then you can drive through a really swanky neighborhood, and the stone wall outside has, stone wall neighborhood or something, written in Vivaldi. Anyway, as I was doing research for that, I found one of those snobby graphic design person who said, "Never use Vivaldi." I thought it was hilarious, and here's why. He said because Vivaldi is so overused, therefore you should never use it. Which that's a point. He's got a point. Not a good one, but it's a point. But I thought, man, imagine being Peter, what's his name? You can Google what his name is. I forget right now. Imagine being Peter, what's his name? That just as a part of, and by the way, he was a painter. I love this guy. German, living in Canada, and a painter. And he had designed a font that was so popular that snobby graphic designers said, "Oh no, I never use Vivaldi." Can you imagine? Like, break my heart. Oh, that I would be so shunned. It's kind of like, it's a little bit like the Thomas Kincaid syndrome, isn't it? Oh, to be so popular that all the artists in the world hate your guts. Oh, that's a problem I would like to have, frankly. Oh, that I had that problem. That I'm so popular, that I'm such a multi-gazillionaire, that all artists feel compelled to hate me. That's probably not going to happen, but I welcome it if it does. Oh, boy. Darth Teller. Jesus, take the pen. Yes, Lady Grammy, how is your crowdfunded over for classic comics? Oh my goodness! Wow. Wait, I'm backing up here. So at least slipped back into politics talk. Nice, yeah. Hello, Brenda. Good to have you here. Good. Lady Grammy, glad to hear your husband is doing well. Lord bless him more. Wow. Uncle, it'll make me feel better if y'all hate me. That's right. That's right. Y'all start hating me. It's like, dang, I must have reached some kind of success. Wedding painter. Man, I don't know. This one's petering out, I think. I thought, what would it look like if the lettering was in color, but the swoosh was in black and white? Well, I don't know, it leaves me not knowing where to put the painters. Anyway. All right, let's see if we can get off politics and religion. Boy, the two things we're not supposed to talk about. It's my broadcast and I'll cry if I want to. You would cry too if it happened to you. Okay, so I started out saying just keep your hand moving. Well, I've done that, all right, but unfortunately at the same time I kept my mouth moving, much to everybody's chagrin. Hang on, I'm standing up over here trying to get some different pens out of my. I have all kinds of calligraphy tools, all of which are safely far away from me at the moment. So here's a little one of those cheap, and it's quite worn out, one of those cheap little calligraphy felt tip pens. Wedding painter. See which one, I guess really I think the wedding is more likely to be the stiff lettering. I'm doing extra wide kerning, as you can see. I've been doing that a lot today. Right, that's where the letters are spaced out to an unusual degree. And I do feel like by the way, I probably need to go back to my Civil War sketch here because I think I'm being redundant here way too much. But having said that, I'm going to keep on being redundant. Wedding painter. Oh, I thought this was a brown pen. It's not. It's black. All right. By the way, the only reason I'm using different... Oh, painter. I keep doing that. Not wedding painter, painting, painter. Here, let's do that again. The only reason I'm using different colors is because it tickles a different part of your brain, and sometimes it can spark a creative thought that you wouldn't get if you kept working, say, in black and white. So that's all. This has the colors I'm using probably have no relationship to the final colors that the logo might be. I'm simply using color to spark a different part of my brain. That's all. Painter. Let's see, what could I do that's different than just, this kind of thing? I've done several of those already, haven't I? Yeah, see. Here's a couple of them with wide kerning with a dot. Wedding painter. Yeah, this works better than this, so I'm concluding that. And I don't like it all in script like that. I think that's too much. It's too hard to read. I kind of like this, except it needs to be combined with some. Let me just take a minute and do that. Take that. Let's find some red watercolor over here. Let's just do a not enough paint on that brush. Let's try that again. Now that's too much paint on that brush. Ooh, somebody's printing something from downstairs. The only printer in the house is right here at my left hand, and every once in a while somebody will print something from somewhere else in the house. All of a sudden I'm visited by strange things that go bump in the night. Okay, that was a complete disaster, but that's all right. I'm not creating masterpieces here. I'm trying to think. What can I do besides just... well, how about something like this? Let me get... a fairly nice brush. This is I'm going to pick up a Winsor Newton Series 7 Mini. Is that what it's called? Miniature. Yeah. That means it's less expensive. The bristles are short. So this is a number 6 miniature. A number 6 regular would be quite an expensive brush, but this one is not very. And see, I sort of like this kind of look. The problem to me is that it doesn't look elegant like a wedding. Darn. I'll think about that. Well, while I'm thinking, let's do a similar exercise. By the way, I am just in a habit. I'm not saying it's a good habit. It's just what I do. It's just me. I do almost all of my rough sketches on plain old copy paper. So once again, let me pick you up just for a second and show you my environment a little bit. I don't usually do this, but I got nothing to hide. So there's my computer. There's my trumpet lamp. There's my computer. It's playing music, and there's my printer. So right there is a stack of white paper. So I'm reaching over there and grabbing paper literally out of the printer. But I've been using copy paper for rough sketches my entire career, all the way back to the 70s. In other words, I don't use, but I change paper to spark creative thought. I do that. But other than that, like I don't use like a sketch pad. I don't know why, just habit. All right, this is a piece of actually toilet paper. Again, I don't think this is a good idea because it's a wedding. This would work great for a lot of other kinds of painting. P-A-I-N-T. Now, I'm going to make this more legible in a minute. I'm going to throw that up. That's a piece of tissue. Normally, it would be a piece of Kleenex, except I ran out of Kleenex, so I grabbed a roll of toilet paper the other day. All right, you guys are chatting up a storm now. Uncle 60 is promising to hate me because it'll make me feel more successful. Oh my goodness, Darth Teller, Kanye West, oh my goodness, 2024. Draw an art easel, that's a thought. Yes, Darth Teller, you're exactly correct. So this is what I mean by just keep your pencil moving. Right. That's part of being creative. All right, I am going to revisit this logo just for a minute. And in both cases, at least for the sketch, I'm going to do a real tight drop shadow that will make it considerably more legible since it's such a freestyle lettering at this point. And really, honestly, I think I'm just finishing this particular logo because it's pretty. Unfortunately, I don't think it's a good idea. But we can be surprised sometimes. And things end up being good ideas that at first we didn't think were. So it's worth the few minutes just to go ahead and flesh it out, so to speak, a little bit. Isn't that cute? I mean, cute's not the word. It's kind of cool. Wooding painter. I'll give that some thought. Again, change the word wedding to black, mostly black anyway. So when I started my career as an artist, I was doing two things. I was an illustrator and a graphic designer. Yes, sir. It's hard to believe it now. And a lot of my illustrations were cartoons, by the way. So my career path has moved quite some distance over the decades. Started out as a cartoonist, and I enjoyed it, and still do enjoy cartooning quite a bit. I don't get much call for it, but it's great fun. When I went to college, having graduated from high school, I didn't start my art major till my junior year, because before that I was a music major. That's another story. Some of you regulars are not surprised by that. So I was 20 years old before I started hanging out with artists, and I honestly thought that all artists were cartoonists, because I did cartoons when I was too lazy to do realism. So I thought everybody was like me. I just thought, oh yeah, when you're too tired to do something realistic, you just do a cartoon. And then I found out that, oh no, many artists did not have a that cartoon bone in their body. And I was like, really? You guys don't do cartoons? No. What? What kind of artist are you? Serious? That was hard for me to believe. But it was true. There were a lot of serious artists that didn't do cartoons. So that was not me, though. I did a lot of cartoons. Anyway, that's not where I wanted to go with this. I was saying I started out doing graphic design because, well, okay, the question is, to this day, how does an artist make a living? And the answer to that question is any way he or she can. Okay, so back in the day, I couldn't get enough work as an illustrator, so I had to moonlight as my heart was in illustration, but I couldn't get enough work as an illustrator, so I had to do graphic design. And this is, of course, before computers. This is when we'd used hot wax and glued type, PMT, photomechanical transfers. PMTs were the best way to make a good copy, black and white copy. We didn't have printers, and so, boy, you're lucky you missed it. So there, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? I don't think it's good, but I'm still doing it. I'm still pursuing it a little bit. Maybe a few dots out here is like kind of like speckled paint. Anyway, I have no interest in doing graphic design at all now. Of course, it's all done on programs on the computer that I don't even own anymore. But there is one part of graphic design, I mention it because it's quite obvious. There's one part of graphic design, only one part, that I really have any interest in maintaining, and it is type design, hand lettering, and calligraphy. And that is what you're seeing reflected here. I'm trying to decide whether I want to even. Nah, I don't. It's not pretty enough. But this gives you an idea of, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. But draw the palette first. Paint palette and the words on top. Good idea. Yeah, this looks like wall graffiti, somebody says. Yeah, Darth says. I might do that again, but if I did, it would be, I'm not happy enough with the look of that. And of course, that's quite intentional. I was doing it with toilet paper, right? What do you expect? Not use toilet paper. No. He did not say that. He did not say that. No, I didn't. I did not. That was some imposter rushed into my studio and said that all of a sudden. Sorry, that this is, our broadcast is taking a really dark turn. Fallen into disrepute, shall we say. No, we shall not. We shall not even say that. Too late. All right. It's getting ridiculous. Let's go back to the other job. Oh, by the way, I intended to mention another dynamic, another principle. Being a full-time artist for quite a few years, there's somebody's law. This is not an art thing. This is a general business, business leadership, life coach kind of reality. That is this: every job will expand to fill the time allotted to it. Okay, by the way, that's part of the reason why many of you amateur people who are painting just for fun, that is one of the greatest hindrances that you have as an artist, is that there's no deadlines. You have no deadlines. So you can work on a painting for days, weeks, and months. And that is that issue itself is biting you in the butt, because you'd be a much better artist if you had a deadline and the painting or whatever it is had to be done. All right, I'm stumbling over myself. Let me back up. Every job will expand to fill the time allotted to it. All right? If you give yourself 2 hours to do a job, it'll take you 2 hours to do a job. If you have 17 minutes to do a job, you'll do it in 17 minutes. All right. One of the things I've learned is that, there's no deadline for this particular illustration. That's dangerous. That means I could spend too much time doing it. But one of the things that alleviates or helps that is I'll postpone. I'll literally on purpose procrastinate. And in this case, it's good procrastination. I'll procrastinate until my client wants it tomorrow. Does that make sense? Because then I'll actually work seriously. If I start working on a job a week ahead of time, I'll dilly-dally, I'll waste my time, I'll go slow, I'll take too much time, and I'll waste time. Whereas, so as a full-time artist, I literally, not infrequently, I'll actually wait to do a job until I'm under pressure. Isn't that funny? So for me today, doing 2 jobs at the same time is a little bit like that. I'm giving myself pressure. All right, let's go back to this job, and I don't know how many of you were with me. I did this sketch at the beginning, and by the way, this broadcast is getting interminably long. The story is old black slave friend at age 75 or 70 comes through the gate, up the path to his old white friend. They were friends as boys, right? I showed you. Here's one of my rough sketches that I sent to my client, trying to indicate the white boy and this slave boy as dear companions in youth. And there they are again. So that's the sketch, by the way, that turned into, right? I digress again, don't I? Hang on, but I've gone this far. I might as well show it to you. Okay, that was the rough sketch. And I said a little older was the note, and this is what that turned into. All right, so here it is, late in life. The black man comes back, and they are reunited. One of the, I guess I should have made this vertical instead of horizontal. One of the possible views of this is to show the old men embracing. And that's pretty poignant, isn't it? I talked earlier about to be an illustrator, you have to be a storyteller. You have to have a storyteller's intuition. And so that's what I'm trying to employ here. Which is the more poignant scene, where the white man's getting up off his rocking chair with a mint julep. And the old black man is coming up through the gate. Okay, that's a moment, right? That's like magic moment. Bazing. Here's another magic moment when they actually embrace. So part of the question is, which is the more magic? Oh, I know what it. Okay, I've got this wrong already, right? because, and again, this whole story is fraught with racial tension. But the story is the black man comes back imploring his old white friend for succor. Succour. I love sometimes old English. I just use it because it's funny. Anyway, the white black man is asking the white man for support. Again, the story is fraught with American historical issues. But in this case, then, the black man would not be embracing the white man. The black man would be stiff, not sure what kind of reception he's going to receive, right? So I'm going to put the blanks here. The black man standing insecure, stiffly, and we're seeing him from the back. And maybe he's starting to respond. So instead of his arms straight down, so this is me being the storyteller, right? My Darth Teller. Is that who it was? Blacklist Universe. I'm sorry, Blacklist Universe. I'm sorry, I was drawing a blank. This is what you do in comic books, right? Is you're thinking frame by frame by frame. What's the most poignant moment that we want to capture? And of course we want to capture that Major James Coker. They're both old men. That Major Coker embraces his old childhood friend, who abandoned him, by the way. But no, I'll come right out here and say whose side I'm on here. I'm on the black man's side. And sorry, now I just made all you Southerners, all you the South will rise againers, mad, who thought that their black slaves should have fought for their masters. I'm sorry. I'm gonna throw the flag on that one and say, if you really think that's true, you have got a lot more deeper issues than mere good old fashioned homegrown racism. You be an idiot. I'm sorry. You thought I was going to be a nice guy. All right. If you think the black people should have stood up and fought for their masters, which some did, by the way, because they had to, but most of them did what this guy did. He abandoned and went to fight for the North. Duh. And all you surprised, all you Southerners are like, what? We thought they loved us. We thought this war was the war of Northern aggression. Yeah, we did, really. We thought it was about states' rights. Yeah, we did, really. I have members of my family, by the way, my wife's family, I should say, who grew up in the South, who actually believe that bullarchy, that it was a war of Northern aggression and it was a war of, believe me, don't even give it to me. I've read the crap. I'm in the process of reading it right now. Oh my goodness. You need a lesson in human nature. You poor people who think the black people, I don't know why they were so mad. I don't know what. We were nice to them. We gave them ham hocks every month. One every month. Of course, I couldn't eat it because their job was busted where I hit them with a rake. But, I don't know why they were upset. Now, James Coker was kind to his slaves. Let me hasten to add. And by the way, I've really done it now, haven't I? I have just, this is the day of alienation. This is the day when my broadcast, I don't have a lot of viewers to begin with. You all know that. And the few that I had are leaving me in droves. Because some of them are states' rightsers. It's just code language for blankety blank Confederate racist. Oh my! I tell you what. Tell us what you really think, Mr. Dan. Tell us what you really think. Oh my goodness. Oh, as long as I'm laughing, it's okay, right? No, I know it's not, but that's all right. I am laughing, though. And again, those of you who missed it, I am reading the book, just like I'm reading Karl Marx. I'm reading the book where that states' rights malarkey came from. It's called, you can read it with me, feel free, join me. We're going to start a book club here at, Dan Nelson Art. The first book we're reading is Karl Marx, Das Kapital. I welcome your feedback after you've read it. I'm down to the last 2 chapters. And then the other book is that I'm recommending is called Lost Cause. Just Google it. It's a free PDF. Anyway, and the theory is that the black people that were well treated during slavery, and that the northern states had no right to come down and mess up this beautiful, beautiful, superior civilization that the Southerners had beat out of their black slaves for centuries. Oh man. I'm ranting. Good, you go, Lady Grammy, I bet. Because you have some secret weapon, don't you? You do have some secret weapon in your inner soul against some of that darkness. I know you do. All right. Okay, I'm going to keep drawing. So there's sketch number 1. Whoops, I just bumped you guys. There's sketch number 1. Here's sketch number 2, much more loosely done. I guess here, let's do a little, like indications of the porch or something, okay? And, I don't know if I'm going to do any of this, of course. And for some reason, this figure right here does not look like an old black man. He looks way too young. He's standing up nice and stiff. So let's try that again real quick. Yeah, YouTube is listening. That is the truth, isn't it? Do you guys know? I don't know if you know this or not, but Google files away. Like when you go to YouTube and you click captions because you want to read the captions, do you know that all of that is done with a computer, of course? That's no surprise. Nobody does it in person. A computer, Google computer. But here's I don't know if you know this or not. I didn't till I learned it. That the Google computer transcribes every word that I'm saying, including this word. Google, you are a schmuck. That's naughty language at my house. I was trying to think of something really stupid, but I did a bad job of thinking of something stupid. So anyway, let's try again. I want to try this. His shoulders need to be a little bit more hunched because he's apprehensive, right? Mr. Universe, you're right there with me. This is what you guys do all the time. You're always thinking body language all the time. So anyway, Google, not only do they transcribe, they actually record and file away every single word. Is that not crazy? I mean, I'm not scared, but of course, if they hear what I'm saying, they might, if I persist in a vein that they don't particularly care for, they could punish my channel and maybe they already are. I don't know. Because not only do they know what I'm saying, they also know every video that I've ever watched on YouTube. They're recording that too. Now again, I'm not particularly paranoid about that. But if they don't like the kind of videos I watch, they could indeed, diminish my viewership. I by the way, I don't think they're doing that. I'm not conspiratorial to that degree at all. Not yet. Not until I have good reason. But anyway, do you understand? I hope you understand. I'm not saying that that's happening to me at all. But the fact that they do in fact record every single word that I say is My first response is hilarious. I should start. Google is a yellow-fingered cucamonga. You should start making up stupid stuff, insulting, quote unquote. No, I know I should start saying nice things about Google. Google is my favorite. I love all the people at Google. I wish I worked at Google. Google people are smart. All right, hang on. Let's stop talking about that. Let's talk about this drawing here. I am having the fun of drawing a human figure. Figure drawing is fun for me. And Mr. Universe, Blacklist Universe, is no doubt, if he's doing comics, then he's way ahead of me in this. But I do want to talk to the rest of you for just a minute about figure drawing, since I'm doing rough sketch figure drawing right now. All right. First of all, I want to point out that this is supposed to be an old man. Now he looks a little bit heavy. Maybe that's okay. Of course, his clothes are baggy. If there's a skinny person underneath this clothing, then I need to indicate that in some way, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that from back here. Probably just a little tuck at the waist might convey that, because I want this person. He's on hard times, so he's not chubby or strong. He's old and skinny, but he's wearing baggy clothes, okay, worn out clothes. And I'll put some, it'll be ragged down here, that kind of thing. It'll have a few patches, but I don't want it to be cartoony. Anyway, I want to point out that what is it that allows me to draw a figure like this out of my head fairly accurately, so much so that I'm more focused on personality and emotion and the drama of the moment. What is it that allows me to do that? And it's real simple. There's no surprise. It's called study, S-T-U-D-Y. I'm not done. Figure studies. There's two kinds of figure studies, by the way. One is looking at people and drawing them. Okay, that's maybe the main thing. But the other is represented by books like this. I just have them. This is a new one that I haven't worked yet. I haven't used very much yet. Here's one of my favorite. Bridgman's Life Drawing. I've drawn every drawing in this book I have drawn. I did that about 15 years ago or more. I drew every single sketch. And that is what you have to do, by the way, to get the most benefit. What I mean is, I drew that one. I know, but I just want to make a point. I drew these. Okay, that's because I'm obsessive compulsive. I drew anyway. So this is the other way that you learn. My three favorite books, by the way. Okay, this is turning into a commercial for how to be a good figure drawer. 3 books: Bridgman, George Bridgman, Jack Ham, and drum roll, please. This won't surprise any of you that are professional artists. Andrew Loomis. Okay, those are the 3. Let me give those to you again, and then I have a bunch of others. I have about 20 of these books behind me on the shelf behind me, but these are the 3 that are my Bible for figure drawing. And here's what I find very interesting about these 3. And there's many other people that agree with me on this, by the way. George Bridgman, Art Student League of New York, 1920s, 100 years ago. With me? Andrew Loomis, this guy is absolute freak of nature. His drawings are so spectacular. All of this is out of his head. He's such a draftsman. I mean, oh my goodness, if I could draw like anybody in history, I mean, it would be either Rembrandt or Andrew Loomis. I have 2 books of his, 2 big books of his. Let me show you the other one while I'm at it. So right now I'm just, I accused somebody earlier today of being orgasmic in their praise of Karl Marx. Okay, this is me being orgasmic in my praise of Andrew Loomis. This one is drawing the head and hands. Here's another one. These are some also rans. Drawing Dynamic Hands by Bern Hogarth. And Blacklist Universe. He knows if he's a professional comic illustrator, he knows all of these books. In fact, yeah, you say Bridgman is king, yeah, and Loomis for heads. Anyway, these are the three. So where was I going? 1920s, 1940s, and 1960s. That is really interesting to me. So this is over 50 years old. The other one is 70. The other one's 90. Now this is one that I just got a little while ago. I have not drawn. I'm going to look through it. It's looking at the illustrations of old masters, old Renaissance. And again, let me just say, if you want to get good at drawing human figures, it does very little good to look at these illustrations. What does good is to copy them. Okay, so there you go. So my point is, and I'm always wanting, if only I had more time to do more figure studies, I would. Now here's a thought. Would this guy by any chance, would he be coming up on the porch in bare feet? Almost. It's worth thinking. Remember, this is 1915 and country folks, and this man is poor. I'm going to leave it as barefoot for the minute. My point I was going to make, that I'm not trying to pretend I'm any better than I am, for goodness sakes, that no point in doing that. But I'm fairly good, okay? And my point is, how do you get the answer is by doing your homework, study, by looking at figures and drawing them. And by the way, I've come clean. This was an embarrassing little secret of mine for a long time. I don't attend nude figure drawing sessions. And I would if I could, but my wife won't let me. And I for a long time, that was just my dirty little secret. I didn't want anybody to know. But then I finally realized, oh, wait a minute, I should just tell everybody why. So the good news is, by the way, I'm thinking here, I'm rethinking, I'm wondering if a poor black man in 1915 is really poor, is he wearing both a shirt and coveralls? He may just be wearing only coveralls. So I'm going to take his shirt off. So the good news here is that my wife and I have been married 40 years, and we like each other a lot. And I don't want too much information, but we have a very happy bedroom, okay? And my wife is not an artist. So she just does not see how a man, a red-blooded, as she said to my friends one time, the video studio, they wanted me to come and do a nude figure drawing. And she was actually out of the state, out of the country at the time. And I called her and said, hey, baby, they want me to come and do it. And she said, you tell them, she said, my horny husband is not going to come in there and draw some young chick while I'm 500 miles away. But she did. She called me her horny husband. So that's quite a compliment, don't you think? So I love my wife more than I love the benefit that I would get from figure drawing. And I would. And I think she's completely wrong. I've told her that, and I will tell you that. And she knows that I tell everybody that. I think she's completely wrong. I don't think she understands, because she's not an artist. How could she? But her experience is that, I like her, so to speak. Catch my drift. A lot. And so she just has a hard time imagining. So I don't do figure drawing. Now, and I'd say that, and again, if she dies and I'm still an artist, I'll probably start attending figure drawings places. But I will honor her, and I have a very happy marriage. So ask me which is more important, my artwork or my marriage. Duh. Okay. If anybody answered that wrong, it's how many divorces do you have, my friend? Anyway, so the word is out now. I don't do figure drawing, nude figure drawing. But the encouragement I want to give to you is, dang, you don't need to do nude figure drawing. I mean, it'd be nice. It's better. It's best. But you can you can get an awful lot of good stuff by drawing people with clothes on. That's the real point I want to make here, okay? I think my wife's wrong, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to honor her and gladly honor her. And you can get a ton of good information by drawing people with clothes on. And of course, I showed you those books a little while ago. She's okay with me doing, copies of nude drawings out of a book. In fact, probably half the 14-year-old boys in America would kind of enjoy that book as well, but for a very different reason. Oh boy, this broadcast has gone on a very strange place, hasn't it? Oh my. Bye, Uncle. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Wow. Wow. Warren, how many years old were you when he gave you? That is amazing. That is Walter Brennan. Uncle 60, that's good. You got that. Happy wife, happy life. And Bridgman is king. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And but it's ironic that that's the only one of those books I've drawn. I want to draw through all the others, but I haven't done it yet. But that is one. All right. You know what, you guys? I've had, as you can tell, loads of fun. Too much fun here today at your expense. Well, I've had so many rants today. I need to put a warning. I need to put a warning on the title here. By the way, this guy's bald, isn't he? Just realized. All decent men go bald. I don't know what's the matter with the rest of you. I've had too much fun, and I appreciate your company very much. I don't know if I like him without a shirt, by the way. I really don't. I kind of think I don't for this very reason, that I'm going to have Major Coker giving him a hug, a big, on the way to a big bear hug. And I think that hugging bear skin is just a little bit more sweaty, creepy. You know what I mean? It's like, nah, that will convey a different. I don't mean anything sexual. I just mean like, ooh, no, I don't want to hug in a hot summer in the South. A man without a shirt. So I think I'll probably push her back down. But anyway, I'm going to end this broadcast. I'm going to 10 years old. Wow, that's amazing, Warren. That is amazing. What a heritage. My dad was an artist too, and he gave me little bits of instructions here and there. But I don't think he gave me an anatomy book. Anyway, I'm not crazy about this guy's bald head. Now that I did it, I like the idea of a bald head. I just don't think I've rendered it very well. No, I haven't. All right, it's been fun. Lake just came up here to rescue me from. Is it time for supper yet, Lake? Is anybody around here eating supper? They're going to soon. Did you come to get me for supper? Whew, I'm glad because I'm starving. I've had a lot of fun with my friends here on YouTube. They are a mess, and I'm a mess.
Well, your hands are.
My hands are a mess, yeah. So here's an old black man from behind. And here's a man hugging him. But then I realized he was standing up too straight because he's supposed to be old. And then I took his shirt off, but then I decided, no, I don't like him with the shirt on, so I'm going to put his shirt back on him. Is that all right? What do you think?
Yeah, but I don't really see his face.
No, he's facing the other way. We're looking at him from behind, because the other man's going to be hugging him like this, and like I'll have to. By the way, let me mention to you guys, just back to the artwork. When I'm doing something like this, I will literally, and I do this often, and I have a mirror, by the way, right in my office, right over there. See that? That mirror is there so I can see myself, because I'll literally stand up and be an actor and imagine how this would play out. I'll close my eyes. I think an old black man is coming toward me. The fact that he's black is not germane to the subject, you understand, but that's the story. He's coming toward me, and he's an old friend, and we're both old. and I'll think, how do I approach it? I'll literally walk through it in myself. Just for what it's worth, that's what it's like to be a weird artist, and I am a weird artist. Thanks for watching me. All you weird artists have been great fun. Bye.